Hello, we are going to walk through some symbolism. I'm going to go through a review, and then I will explain how to do your To Kill a Mockingbird assignment for the day. So the first thing is, what is symbolism? And I am not 100% sure how much of you remember of symbolism from middle school. So I'm going to show you this baby 1-minute video. Now, the sound might be really funky, but if you just go on YouTube and look up what is symbolism, you can find it that way as well. But I'll play it through here anyway.
This is an apple. But sometimes an apple isn't just an apple. An apple represents temptation in the story of Adam and Eve. In the story of Snow White, it represents dark intentions. To Isaac Newton, it represented his discovery of the theory of gravity. These are all examples of symbolism. Symbolism is when something in a story represents something else. Authors use symbolism to communicate deeper ideas without having to state them. In the story of William Tell, what might the apple symbolize?
So, as the video explains, symbolism is when there's a physical, literal object, such as the apple, and depending on the story and depending how it's described in the story and what it does, what its function is, it's going to symbolize different ideas. And as the video explained, an apple, depending on the story, could symbolize temptation, could symbolize dark intentions, could symbolize death, could symbolize discovery, could symbolize bravery, could just symbolize pretty much anything you want it to. But it's going to be the literal thing, and then what it stands for will be usually an idea. It can sometimes also be a character. So a couple examples I usually use. Literally, this is a 2D image of an apple. But what does it stand for? Well, it represents the idea of the Mac company. That's not what it is literally. It's literally a 2D picture of an apple with a bite taken out of it. But it represents an idea, which is this corporation. What is this literally? Think about it. And then what does it represent? When you see this image, what does it stand for? And there may be more than one answer. You don't need to write this down anywhere, you just need to think about it. Again, what is this literally? Well, it's a hand with 2 fingers up. What are some of the things it represents or stands for? They're all going to be things that are not a hand with 2 fingers up. So, there we are. And we used to do a poem as well, but I don't think that's necessary. So, on your document, which I can make this big as well, I think. Here we are. So on the document that you should have made a copy of, you should be able to see the learning target at the top is that you can identify literal descriptions of objects in To Kill a Mockingbird to discover their symbolic meanings. So again, step 1 is to look at what is it literally and how is it described. And this is going to build off of the diction work we've been doing, looking at specific descriptors. And once you figure out the specific descriptors, you can then figure out what it's supposed to stand for. So let me make a copy that I can type on. I'll do the first example with you here. Ding. So the 3 things we're going to be taking a look at between today and tomorrow, today on your own and tomorrow when we get back, are Miss Maudie's Nutgrass, which you probably don't remember because it was just mentioned in passing, but it is actually symbolic. Tim Johnson, the Mad Dog, from chapter 10, where Atticus shoots the dog in the street, and then Mockingbirds, which we've talked a little bit about, but that'll become more and more relevant in the next few chapters. So our first step is to look at what is it literally, and more importantly, how is it described in the book. So if you turn to page 56, where the nutgrass is described, it should be in your version of the text. Just found it in my book. Hold on. And if you hear a weird buzzing, it's my cat purring. He's being annoying and won't leave me alone and is purring very loudly next to my laptop. Stop it, kitty. And chewing on my laptop charger. Cats are the best. Okay, so it's the second half of page 56 where it started, she loved everything. So I'll read it for you. If you don't have your book handy, you can follow along on the screen if you can read it, if it's not too tiny. She loved everything that grew in God's earth, even the weeds, with one exception. If she found a blade of nutgrass in her yard, it was like the second battle of the Marne. She swooped down upon it with a tin tub and subjected it to blasts from beneath with a poisonous substance she said was so powerful it'd kill us all if we didn't stand out of the way. Why can't you just pull it up? I asked, after witnessing a prolonged campaign against a blade not 3 inches high. Pull it up, child, pull it up. She picked up the limp sprout and squeezed her thumb up its tiny stalk. Microscopic grains oozed out. Why, one sprig of nutgrass can ruin a whole yard. Look here. When it comes fall, this dries up and the wind blows it all over Macomb County. Miss Maudie's face likened such an occurrence unto an Old Testament pestilence. And then the topic changes. And they start to talk about Boo Radley. So, on your sheet, what is the nutgrass literally? Well, it's a weed in Miss Maudie's yard. Right, and how is it described? That's what's more important. So if we look, so it's something to battle against, right? Second Battle of the Marne. And Miss Maudie subjects it to a poisonous substance, so she tries to kill it. Right? It's a limp sprout that has microscopic grains, so it's not super powerful. If I can spell microscopic. Right? But it'll blow all over Macomb County, so it'll end up everywhere. One sprig of nutgrass can ruin a whole yard. Right? That's the problem with it. So it's like it's just kind of annoying, but if you have one sprig of it, it can ruin the whole yard, and it'll spread all over Macomb County. Right? And then the other thing she says about it is that it's compared to an Old Testament pestilence. Old Testament is just in the Bible. It's the first half of the Bible, the Christian Bible. So the bit before Jesus is the Old Testament. So if you think about all the, have you ever seen The Prince of Egypt? With all the plagues and things that come down, that's pestilence. Pestilence is a plague or a disease. So it's described as, the Old Testament part isn't as important, but pestilence, so a disease. And I think if we Google pestilence, just to double check, yeah, it's a fatal epidemic disease. So a disease that spreads. Right? So that is what the nutgrass is literally, and that's how it's described in the book. Now you have to figure out, okay, that's the physical object, is the nutgrass, that spreads. And it's something to battle against, and it's something that spreads all over. What could this stand for outside of itself? Right? What's the larger idea or character that it stands for? well, there's not really a character that spreads all over Maycomb in the book. But one thing that we do know about Miss Maudie, and that she goes on to do right after this, is that she starts talking about, Scout starts talking with her about Boo Radley, and whether or not she thinks Boo Radley's alive, and what happened to him, and Scout's like, oh, maybe he died and they stuffed him up the chimney, etc., etc. And one thing that Miss Maudie does is she tries to put a stop to that. She doesn't want to gossip about Boo Radley. So I'm thinking, what could this stand for outside of itself? My interpretation could be, well, it could stand for gossip and rumors, right? This is a larger thematic idea. And on their own, it might be one person, Tiny, right? It might be one sprig of nutgrass. But if you don't kill it immediately, if you don't kill the rumor immediately, it'll spread all over Maycomb County. Just like the Boo Radley thing, right? Somebody started the rumor that he stabbed his dad and he's done all these horrible things and he's got, 10-inch teeth and eats squirrels or whatever, and things just get out of hand. It'll grow and it'll grow and it'll grow, and it's fatal. It's bad. So rumors are terrible, as Miss Maudie points out to Scout, right? So that could be a symbolic interpretation, but that's what you want to do. You want to look at what is the function of the object, how is it described, right? Something to battle against, it's tiny, but if you have one sprig, it'll ruin the whole yard because it'll spread, and it's a disease that's fatal and spreads as well. So then I think, all right, what is it in the book that's bad, that seems small, but spreads? Maybe rumors. And again, it's not like in this case, Harper Lee has come out and said specifically, this is what this stands for. Because that's not the point of symbolism. The point is for you to figure it out on your own. But the other two symbols are a lot easier than the nutgrass one. And they should be fairly obvious. If they're not, don't worry. But what I do want you to do for sure is the physical description box. So look up on these pages and on this page how the dog is described, what is it doing as it's walking down the street, and then the mockingbirds, how are they described, what's the deal with them on page 119. If you can figure out what idea it stands for, please fill those boxes out as well, but we will work through those tomorrow and see what people came up with and talk over how to figure that out from the description that you found. So, save your document, bring it filled out. Hopefully you filled out these two boxes as well as I was just going over it, and we should be good to go. Email me if you have any questions that are not specific to, I don't understand what the symbolism is, because again, we will work on that tomorrow if you didn't get it. Alrighty? Thank you.